Trump's mugshot is all over the internet and people are going crazy. We got some people going way too high and others going way too low. And somewhere there's got to be an equal, a medium, somewhere in the middle there somewhere where we see this for what it is, which is an unprecedented moment. Never before has an American president gone to jail, been incarcerated, had a mugshot taken. So yeah, that's crazy, right? Boom. But we love locking people up in America. We have 5% of the world's population. We house 25% of the world's prison population. That's what we do. So Donald Trump was arrested in Fulton County Jail in Georgia for conspiring to overturn the 2020 election. Now look, I know there's already people being very upset. They're going, oh my God, not my Donald Trump, not my Trumper. All right? I want to talk to you because I'm finding it very weird how many people certainly have amnesia about Donald Trump. See, this is what the Democrats did. They focused on style and didn't focus as much on what he did.
You know what? It doesn't matter.
What he was against, so that people really understand what they're choosing. So my thing is this, look, if you want to be a Trump supporter, fine. But I want you to understand you have options. You have options besides Donald Trump. And if you're a black person who is conscious, as in aware that understands what's going on, what we're up against as black Americans, or if you're someone who advocates for black folks, I want you to also understand what it is, what we're up against, and why Donald Trump should not be the guy that you support. And to that effect, not to badger you, not to cape for Joe Biden, because I'm not a Biden supporter. In this video, I'm going to lay out 9 reasons why Donald Trump should not be who you support in the 2024 election. Number 1, Trump's response to racial tensions and protests such as those after the death of George Floyd were viewed by many as divisive rather than working to unify the nation. He frequently used confrontational language like,
on Twitter, the president suggested the protesters were professionally managed and denied he was stoking more confrontation when he inquired, "Tonight, I understand, is MAGA night at the White House?"
I have no idea if they're going to be here. I was just asking. By the way, they love African American people. They love black people. MAGA loves black people.
After clashes with Secret Service overnight, the president wrote, "I was inside, watched every move, and couldn't have felt more safe." Then added, "Nobody came close to breaching the fence. If they had, they would have been greeted with the most vicious dogs and most ominous weapons I have ever seen."
To make a reference to vicious dogs is no subtle reminder to African Americans of segregationists who let dogs out on women, children, and innocent people in the South.
It follows another racially charged tweet from the president Friday. "When the looting starts, the shooting starts." The phrase was originally coined in 1967 by a Miami police chief known for aggressive policing tactics in black communities.
I don't know where it came from, where it originated.
This is not what the country needed at the time. There could be a voice of reason, but I'm trying to tell you the reason why Donald Trump did not want to be a voice of reason or calm is because Donald Trump wanted to feed his base of supporters who are strongly pro-police, anti-us, black people, anti-rebellion, anti-uprising, anti-protest. Unless, of course, they're protesting a Bud Light can. Then it's cool. Or if they're protesting January 6th, then it's cool. But if we're protesting the death of someone that we saw murdered on TV, but Donald Trump's attitude to that, I say, was unacceptable, and it's a damn good reason not to support Donald Trump. Number 2, Trump disbanded federal efforts to address systemic racism. He outlawed talking about race and gender by government agencies in their trainings. This is not a good thing. Yes, I understand that we have problems and different disagreements. I have disagreements with DEI, how it's administered, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I have problems with it because the majority of the people that are conducting the diversity, equity, and inclusion management, consulting, and the implementations are white women. In fact, less than 3%, I think it was less than 3%. Less than 3%, I'm going to go with it. I think it's 2.7. But less than 3% of the management and professionals leading the diversity, equity, and inclusion matters in these offices, in these spaces, corporations, organizations, are black. So we got a racial problem with the implementation of the racial fixers. The racial systems that are fixing the racial systems are racist. Predominantly, it's a money grab for white women. That's that's how I consider it. I'm not saying that white women get in, I'm going to grab money, but the way it shakes out. So there's discrimination in getting the actual jobs to go in and alleviate discrimination within workplaces. Now, how can that be if that's your whole purpose of existing? See, that's not the totality of the situation. When Donald Trump doesn't want us to have racial conversations, that's not good. That's Ron DeSantis' land. That's what Ron DeSantis got it from. Ron DeSantis is a copy of Donald Trump without any humor, savvy, or charisma, or interestingness. Okay? That's what Ron DeSantis is. So if you're against Ron DeSantis changing of black history, erosion of the constitutional rights of those to be able to have freedom of speech on these issues, you are against the limiting of those conversations, then, and you're against Ron DeSantis, you got to be against Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is the dead dad. He is the father of that line of thinking. DeSantis hijacked it from Trump because he saw it was effective for a base of people, and so he implemented it. He used it in Florida. Trump is the one DeSantis got it from. So if you got a problem with DeSantis, you got to have a problem with Trump. And that's why I say if you're going to vote for Trump, you need to consider who you're voting for. Number 3, voting rights. The Trump administration supported voter IDs, laws, and other voting restrictions, which many experts argue disproportionately affect black Americans and other minority groups. This whole idea that we have a bunch of people going out voting as someone else is hogwash. There was a study that was conducted back in 2007 called the Brennan Center, and they determined that you're more likely to get struck by lightning than be someone who tries to vote in someone else's place, which is what they're alleging when they say voter ID laws. We need to put voter ID laws. What they do is they suppress poor people, who are predominantly who? So poor people may not be able to have the money to go get an ID or a license because they just can't afford it, right? Or they may not have a utility bill or the requirements in order to get their license, okay? Or their voter, or their ID, okay? So those people that are not able to do so or have difficulty doing so due to lack of money, lack of transportation, lack of whatever, those people are predominantly what people? Black people, Latino people, poor people, which are predominantly, in America, black people, Latino people. And these are people that predominantly, more than likely, do not vote for Donald Trump or the Republican Party. Good, where we're going. Also, another group impacted by this, young people. A lot of young people don't have IDs, may not have gotten their IDs and kept up with their IDs or what have you. And those people are also impacted by this. So, and what does the majority of young people do? What do the majority of young people do? They vote Democrat. So hey, I'm not saying voting Democrat's great. What I'm saying is this is a tool of the Republican Party in order to what? To penalize and somewhat slow down and suppress the vote of black people, Latinos, and young people. 3 constituencies that don't really vote Republican as much on balance. Number 4, Trump's attitude towards police brutality. Trump often displayed strong support for law enforcement without addressing concerns about police brutality, which disproportionately affects black Americans. His strong law and order stance was often interpreted as being insensitive to the nuanced issues surrounding police interactions with the black community. When asked about this, said, hey, what about police brutality? Trump's response was, hey, white people get beat up too. But yes, we know. White people are 60% of the country, black people only 13%, but we get killed disproportionately based on the number of us that it is in the country. That's the problem. And Trump, with his, hit him in the head. You don't have to be so nice. It's okay. Hit the heads when you put them in the car.
And when you see these towns and when you see these thugs being thrown into the back of a paddy wagon, you just see them thrown in, rough. I said, please don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, you know, the way you put their hand over. Like, don't hit their head and they've just killed somebody, don't hit their head. I said, you can take the hand away, okay? It's not nice. It's nice. Don't be so nice.
What's that saying? It's saying it's okay to brutalize. He said this in front of a bunch of NYPD officers. And they were behind him laughing and giggling because they know what that means. That means, go ahead, be rough as you want. Don't listen to the liberals. Do your thing. Get it in. Also, there's another little thing that's a horrible practice that was practiced in New York that Donald Trump supports. You may have heard of it. It's called stop and frisk.
ACLU, which ties law enforcement's hands, and to strongly consider stop and frisk. It works, and it was meant for problems like Chicago. It was meant for it. Stop and frisk.
Hey, man, hey, I'm not telling you who to vote for. But what I'm saying, if you're considering voting for Donald Trump, it'd be nice if you considered that he is more of a fan of police and not a real critic of police brutality in a way that you would, in a way that he should be if he was going to get your vote. And at least in a way for me, if I'm going to give him my vote, I can't vote for somebody who thinks it's okay to crack someone's head against a car and call that just, tough police work. 5, Trump often used social media and public speeches to attack black athletes, politicians, and journalists who criticized him, which was seen by some as racial dog whistling. Trump went after Colin Kaepernick, LeBron, Steph Curry, reporters, black reporters here and there, April Ryan and others. He was fixated on this. In fact, they did a study. They analyzed Trump's tweets. They realized through the period of September 23rd and October 23rd, 12% of Trump's tweets were focused on black athletes, the national anthem. 12% of the president's focus for an entire month was black athletes, berating them. The president of the United States. And I know there are Trump supporters going, it's just tweets. Yeah, but tweets directed to a certain group of people over an extended period of time. That's what it was. For those reasons in themselves show an erratic and bias. And, hey, what did Trump say about the NFL owners? What he wanted them to do? He said, get those SOBs out of the game, get them off the field.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
What? For taking a knee and protesting, in protest of police brutality at a football game by not standing for the flag. I don't remember Trump referring to Aryan Nation, Nazis, skinheads as SOBs. The only SOBs that Trump has ever mentioned while in office that I know of, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, were football players who took a knee at the anthem. And it was obvious, it became very obvious why Trump was doing it. He was doing it to rile up his base. That's why he stayed on it. Trump has been marketing, branding and marketing, and not governing. And these are problems. And these may be funny to some, may be enjoyable and entertaining, but to others, it is frustrating. It's hell, and it's unprecedented. It's also against the First Amendment right for people to express themselves through protest. Donald Trump, for this reason, people should consider, is that the guy really? Is that the guy I really want? Trump has been consistent because Trump knows that his base of people that support him feel the same way that he feels. Or he knows how they feel, so now that's the way he feels. I do not even believe that Donald Trump feels as strongly about these issues as he projected himself to feel. He just knew that they were winning topics for him. And those are the same topics that Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy adopt in order to pick up the mantle of Donald Trump. To feed off his fan base. 6, the Affordable Care Act opposition. Trump's attempts to dismantle the ACA or the Obamacare could disproportionately impact black folks because we're more likely or more than likely the ones who have inadequate health care. Why? Because we're more than likely the ones that have jobs that don't have the best health care because we have less professional jobs. So we're the ones that suffer more when you just throw out the Affordable Care Act. No, I don't think the Affordable Care Act went far enough. I wanted a public option, similar to Social Security or Medicare. But what I'm saying is Donald Trump wanted to get rid of Affordable Care or the Obamacare Act, Obamacare, and that would only hurt black people the most. That's what it would do. It sounds good to get rid of it because it's got Obama's name on it, but if you can't replace it with something that still makes sure people are insured, the people that lack health coverage can get insured, then we also have a problem. I'm not saying the Affordable Care Act was perfect. I'm not even saying it was very good, but it was better than nothing, and that's what Trump was trying to leave us with. There is no Trump care. He never replaced it. He talked about replacing it and got as much mileage as humanly possible off the notion of getting rid of a Obama policy, but at the end of the day, he did not. Because he couldn't come up with anything. 7, Trump reduced oversight over local police. The Department of Justice under Trump pulled back on using consent decrees to oversee local police departments with histories of civil rights abuses. A move that some argue put black Americans at risk. Look, consent decrees aren't everything, but they do give incentives for police forces to do better with black American communities, to be less prejudiced, be less on a racial profiling spree in order to rack up points and tickets. That's what a consent decree does. It can use it to withhold funding, federal funding, to those state police, those police agencies that do not meet certain criteria. And Trump wiped that away. Not only did he install his conservative judges all across the country, for which we will be for decades trying to undo. If anybody out there is wondering, does that impact black people? Yes, it does. To go before judges who do not have any empathy at all to black folks who are conservatives, who are tough on crime, hard on people, harder on people, less hard on white collar, more hard on blue collar, more hard on poor people loitering. Don't get me wrong, I complained about this across administrations, okay? I've been very tough on Biden on these issues. But all I hear people talk about with Trump is the First Step Act. They never talk about this. They never talk about Trump with the consent decrees. So he did one good thing on this side. On the other side, he did bad things that hurt black folks. And no one's talking about them both. So when you want to support Trump, you must consider what he did on the other side of it, the back end of it. Got some people home and sent some more people to jail. Same time. 8, Trump's immigration policy. Trump's immigration policy was much harder on black folks or black people from African countries, from dark-skinned countries coming to America. He called them shithole countries. He never referred to any westernized countries as that. You can pretend that that's not a racially charged thing to say, but when you consider who Donald Trump's base is, and I'm not saying all Trump supporters are racist. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is more than likely if you're a racist, you find comfort in being in the Trump home. You find it very comfy being in Trump land. You find it comfy sleeping in, sitting in Trump chairs, Trump sleeping in a Trump bed and eating Trump soup. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That immigration policy hurt black immigrants from Haiti, Nigeria, other black countries, other dark-skinned countries. Okay? That's who it was for. Deny it if you want to deny it, but it's reality. And in my opinion, it should give you pause when it comes to supporting Trump clause. 9, housing policies. The administration rolled back Obama-era fair housing regulations designed to combat housing discrimination. Housing discrimination has historically been a significant issue for black Americans, folks. Donald Trump cut initiatives that were put in place to alleviate racial discrimination in housing. There was never a need for white folks to have civil rights passed because white folks had civil rights. Black people did not have civil rights in this country until the mid-60s, and you're telling me you feel that only 60 years later, hey, everything's good. Hey, those people that were bigoted in these systems, that were bigoted, that were systemically bigoted against black Americans are all better now. I'm so glad we got past that racism thing that's been lurking around this country for 200 and 300 years. We got past it in 60 years. Isn't that something? Now everybody go home and cook yourself up a pot pie, order yourself up some Chipotle, or watch some 30 Rock. We're all good here. This has been a problem with Donald Trump. His rhetoric has always enticed and incited a group of people against another group of people. This is what Donald Trump has done repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. So if you're angry about Donald Trump being arrested, I can understand that. I get it. Maybe you don't trust the government. I don't trust him either. And maybe you feel like, hey, this focus on Donald Trump has been biased. It has been somewhat political, if not totally political, or as largely political, or has political residue on it. Okay, I get that too, and I agree with you. But to make the leap to say, oh, I got to support Donald Trump because of it, nah, he's not deserving of that. He's not deserving of it. And don't give me the thing about the opportunity zones either. Opportunity zones benefited corporations more than they benefited the people who lived in the opportunity zones because there were no restrictions that the opportunity zones had to employ people who lived in the opportunity zones. Damn you, Trump and Tim Scott. So what it became is a tax write-off for people that had the money to take advantage of opening up a business in a predominantly opportunity zone area. It did not help people that did not have money. Okay? Okay. So you want to throw that in. The only thing I will give you is the First Step Act and some of the money that they gave the HBCUs. But not all black people go to HBCUs. Do you understand that? Not everyone is a college grad. What about people that take up trade skills, or people that work with their hands, or people that just did not go to HBCUs? And HBCUs also have Latinos, white folks, Native Americans, a lot of different people go to HBCUs. So they also benefited. So let's not pretend the only people that go to HBCUs, like all of the black community, ushers into an HBCU. Okay? No. And another thing, not all Americans, especially not all black Americans, complete college anyway. You can start and end because of college debt. And I just see Trump doing a whole lot about debt when it comes to colleges. Trump must be beholden to Wall Street, just like the rest of the same old with Obama and the rest of them. Please do not misinterpret this video as a co-signing of Biden. You're looking at things in the duopoly. I'm trying to break the duopoly, and I'm telling you, if you want something better, you want the best, you need to go west, as in Dr. Cornel West. I believe Dr. Cornel West, running as a Green Party, as a member of the Green Party, will give us an opportunity to have more choices on that ballot, which would only benefit black Americans and white Americans, because now you don't have to just go, ooh, which one? I got these two choices I don't like. Got to choose one of them. Here I go picking somebody I hate, who I would never pick if I had another option. Well, now you have that other option. That option is Dr. Cornel West, here for humanity, fighting a good fight, and I support him. You should support him too. Go to cornelwest24.org. cornelwest24.org. This video, I want it to serve as a representation. I want people to watch it with an open mind. This is not from a position of a Biden supporter. It's not from a position of a person who hates Trump. I don't hate Trump. I just hate mendacity. I hate hypocrisy. Biden, I hate hypocrisy. I hate fake-ass allyship in using us with symbolism. I don't need Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill or the $50 bill. I need black people to have money. I need us to win financially. I need us to have equal footing in these institutions that determine what the quality of our lives will be. That's where I'm at. So join me in that pursuit. But don't cry me a river for Donald Trump. Cry me a river for all of the black folks that are incarcerated because of Joe Biden's policies. And if you get on TV like Joy Reid, and you make it a thing where you want to complain about Donald Trump and the Central Park Five.
So as a teenager living in New York, I've said it before, this is the reason I never watched The Apprentice. Yeah. I despised Donald Trump because he, to me, signified the rich white guy in Manhattan that absolutely hated and despised me, that hated and despised my cousins, my friends, everyone we knew, that called us wilding just because we were in the park.
Donald Trump and the Central Park Five, which I totally understand, I totally get that. But if you're not on the other side calling out Joe Biden for having his fingers on every piece of hard kick you in the ass law and order legislation from the late 80s to the mid 90s, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 of those pieces of legislation. If you fail to mention that, but you want to mention to me Donald Trump, who as a private citizen put an ad out in the paper, please. Seems to me like you're doing a little bit of fake outrage. And it's not just for Joy Reid, but she's the one I have in this clip who's doing exactly that. So no, what I'm saying is we need to be reasonable in our critiques and reasonable in our support. It's reasonable to support Dr. Cornel West. To me, it's unreasonable to get on a Trump bandwagon because you think the system is treating him the way it treats most Americans who don't have money. Donald Trump is getting a taste of what it's like to be poor in America or to be powerless in America. He got a charge put on him. My name is Tim Black. If you want to track Cornel West's run, Dr. West's run to the presidency, you want to subscribe to this channel and do it now. Do it now. And when they tell you, oh, you got to vote Trump, or you got to vote Biden, you look them in the face and you tell them, hey, it's a new day. I'm going west. Cornel West.
Extra innings are bonus segments from Tim Black's Black Table Show with the Blacks. That's Tim Black and the amazing Mrs. Black. For early access to extra innings, become a paid member of the Tim Black Show at jointimblack.com. Ain't nothing like the real thing. Baby, join today. See you there, Wolfpack.